What is the worst feeling, emotionally, in your opinion? Watching something fall apart right in front of your eyes and knowing you can't do anything about it. It's even worse when it's your fault. Jenga intensifies. Wanting to talk to somebody about something that really makes you excited, but then realizing you have no one to talk to about it. It takes the joy out of the things that make you excited. Hell, even something as simple as watching a TV show stopped being as fun after I no longer had someone to talk about it with. Instead of sharing a joyful emotion with someone, I just feel that joy wither and die inside me. I found Reddit is great for that. Even if you're crazy excited about a show, you can always find someone even more excited who's willing to discuss it. I sub to a show that's got less than 2,000 members, and am still always able to engage in thoughtful discussion or read interesting posts. I also sub to r/King Off the Hill, a show that's not been on the air in 10 years, and there's still tons of people willing to discuss all kinds of aspects of the show. How often does pocket sand come up? The special type of anxiety that also includes dread. That pit in your stomach feels like a black hole. Back in high school I used to get so anxious I felt physically sick and nauseous. Ugh, high school is pretty shitty. I'm glad it'll be done with soon for me. Being so depressed and detached that you become emotionally blank. Nothing feels like anything. Nothing is worth doing or caring about. You're definitely not happy, but you're not exactly sad about anything in particular. Life has just lost its zest, but you're expected to keep existing. And you do, but you don't know why. Exactly what I was going to write. Being completely separated from the world and coming home feeling like you're living a lie all day. Coming home and still feeling like I want to go home because no matter where you are you don't want to be there. Regret, cause most often you can do duck all about it. Regret is such a short word, and yet it stretches on forever. Ranata Suzuki, r/sad upvote. Defenselessness/defeat. Like knowing you're about to be in a ton of pain for no good reason, and also knowing you can't do shit to avoid it. Welcome to chronic pain. Welcome to childhood sexual abuse by several adults. Abandonment. And that is a feeling that can really damage you for a long time. True that, brother. When I found out that my girlfriend, now wife, was terrified of me because of my PTSD, we had a few incidents, talked about them, everything seemed fine. But then when we talked later, got more in depth about it, she said something that blew my mind. Even when you don't show it, I can feel your anger. It's like a nuclear bomb has gone off inside you. You literally radiate heat and it's terrifying. Not just to me, but the dogs as well. You don't even have to be yelling, slamming things around, etc. We just feel it, and it's really scary. That's the worst feeling. Knowing that someone I love, someone I would die for, is terrified of me. That being said, we've got great communication. I've done a lot of therapy and learned what a lot of my triggers are and feel like I've mostly got it under control. I mean, she married me. I must be doing something right. Keep it up, good sir. AYE. Regret that falls into I've done something I can't change. Isn't that most regret? IDK, I usually regret things I haven't done. Grief. There are many emotions rolled up into one docu sandwich. Knowing that whatever terrible thing you're experiencing is entirely your own fault and you can't fix it now. Guilt. For whatever it is for. It's the worst feeling to know that you hurt someone, or ruined something, or cheated. Guilt. I hate guilt so much. I feel such strong guilt, stupid reasons, and it blows. What scares me about guilt is that guilt is what happens after you are done with all other avenues. Fate. Bad luck. Cruel nature. There is a God. There is no God. Randomness. Law of averages. Some formula or explanation. No. That one is down to you. Live with it. Apostrophe. There's many, but I guess the most recent one for me is being told it's my fault for a close family member's death. Wow. What happened? Family member overdosed and had been a drug addict for many years. Told the story on Reddit today and someone said that he died because our family didn't care enough about him and that we're pretty much lazy. There's more to it, so you can go through my comment history if you're really interested. They made good points to back up their argument, but it just hurts being told that it's pretty much your fault for losing someone you care about because your efforts to help them weren't good enough. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words. It's very much appreciated. That first bit of time after something horrible happens when you're still trying to process tragedy. You're feeling a bunch of negative things, but you can't articulate what or why. Things don't seem real. You lose your sense of self. Time seems to move differently. You're deeply uncertain about your future. The other stages of grief are painful, but in a cathartic, healing way. That first part of grief, though, when you're still trying to piece your life back together like it's a Sherlock Holmes mystery, it just feels so hopeless and purposeless and empty. Yeah, it's this. When nothing makes sense and you're dissociated from reality. Due to my abuse history, always feeling like I'm in trouble for everything. I mean everything. Ask you a simple question, I'll panic for weeks thinking I asked it in a way that seems bad, and I'll be in trouble for it. I literally just sent a email to our local game commission asking about a deer I saw with large masses on it. Did I do anything wrong? No. But I'm spiraling over it. The problem is, because of this, people automatically think I'm up to something, because I act guilty. So I don't get treated very nicely, and that just fuels my fear. It's no way to live. I'm in a constant state of paralysis, fearing the worst. It really sucks and honestly has almost driven me to suicide a couple times, because I'm just so fearful of everyone. Shit, I feel this one. That existential panic, that what you said might, for some strange reason, end your existence. You then catastrophize, and fight or flight is driving you crazy over something that you know logically is insignificant, but is apparently life-altering nonetheless. It happens much less to me now that I'm older. Thank God. But I'd be lying if I said that if I ever come across as moronic, especially to someone that I admire, then my running shoes have to go on my feet, because out the doors I go. Feeling suicidal. It's just a pit of despair and loneliness. This, one of the worst feelings ever. No hope, no silver lining, nothing. Being betrayed by someone you trust the most. You have to trust someone to be betrayed. I never did. Oof. Maybe your answer should be never knowing what it feels like to trust someone. Apostrophe. Loneliness or someone not talking to you. I'll talk to you. Sometimes I appreciate being alone, but it's different if you didn't choose. Being alone and being lonely are two wildly different things. You can be lonely surrounded by friends. Loneliness is probably the most horrible thing I have felt. Heartbreak. Been dealing with it for the past 2 months now. My first time ever, and holy shit WTF. Never knew it was even possible to feel like this emotionally. Same here. But in going on 3 months, it was a shock to learn that you can feel it physically in your chest. Literal heartbreak. Reaching out and opening up when you're going through a hard time and watching the people you thought cared just ignore you. Nothing quite like watching the friends you did your best to support just disappear when you become inconvenient to them. It sucks. Had a best friend for 6, going on 7 years. Just randomly, from my POV. Not sure if they had a reason, decided they didn't want to be friends anymore. Felt like I got sucker punched when I first comprehended what was going on. Went from multi-hour long involved conversations about anything to 1 to 2 word answers, if I was lucky. Not going to lie, I cried about it. Lost him over and over, no matter how hard you try, after putting all your effort and heart into it. Feeling helpless/stuck, like you have no way to move forward, no matter how much you'd like to. Hopelessness. The feeling that the future holds nothing for you, and that things simply cannot get better. When you realize that all your friends don't actually like you, They just want stuff from you, and you were so desperate for friends that you turned those red flags in your mind off and let it happen. The feeling you get when you can't find your child. We were at a 4th of July outdoor festival. It was crowded and several blocks long. I was pushing our boy/girl twins in a double stroller and my so had our 7 and 3-year-old sons. Well, the 3-year-old came up missing. We split up and looked everywhere. I was scared to the point of crying. What felt like an hour later, here comes my so holding the hands of both boys. It seemed he had wandered off, and a kind little old lady took him to a police officer. The utter relief we felt has no words. This is additional confirmation that the actual worst feeling is really losing a child forever. I lost my son 4 years and 2 days ago, and I can tell you there is no deeper sorrow in life than that, and it never leaves you. I'm crying now from sharing this. Feeling incompetent, especially when letting someone down at the same time. Watching my own body tear itself apart and all of it being outside of my control. A year ago, when I was 19, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that ate my muscle away. I was at my weakest point, barely being able to walk and dress myself. It broke my heart and my spirit having to watch my body kill itself as the days passed. Happy ending though. I'm regaining most of my strength back, and my body is moving toward remission. However, I know that the struggling and very hard things I've had to go through have changed me as a person, and I'm sad to say that I'm no longer the happy, energetic, outgoing person I used to be and probably never will be again. Lack of hope. More than once I've packed up my things and left a city behind. I feel I could get through most any negative feeling or situation doing that by being able to look towards the horizon, full of possibility. That's why I'm afraid of getting older. Like there will be less and less to look forward to until at some point there's not enough hope left to beat back my demons. Real honest to goodness heartbreak. The sinking feeling turns into real physical pain and just kinda stays there in your chest. Deleted. You are the people around you. The more time you spend with a person, the more they become part of who you are. Shared experiences and emotions, good and bad. Ending a relationship, especially abruptly and without preparation, would logically leave a hole in your life and in your heart, like you cut off part of yourself because you did. In a way, all you can do is try to fill the gaps with something else, like hobbies and friends. Then wait out the pain, so time can build emotional scar tissue and patch the holes. Hatred. It kind of feels good because of the burning intensity of it. But the hollow bitterness and horrible emptiness of it all is the worst feeling in the world. Spit out your hate. It's not doing you any good, even if it feels energizing. I've never been able to describe this feeling of having a hatred that goes so deep. You know it's having negative effects, but you don't want it to go away because the intensity has a particular passion to it and feels better than the feeling of giving up on what you care so much about. Like hating people for easily achieving goals you've worked your whole life for. You hate them for being given something for free when you've cried, bled and sweat for it. And you hate that you hate them because they aren't bad people. But you can't stop, because if you stop hating, then the goal itself loses the passion you gave it. And you no longer have someone to project your failure/blame onto. You just put into words exactly how I feel. I've felt really emotionally numb lately, so I find myself hanging on to anger. Frankly, I prefer it over apathy. Not being able to believe in yourself. Not feeling wanted. Watching someone you really care about fading away and doing things that you would never think they would begin to do. I can relate to this. Truly is the worst feeling. Grief. I just lost my best friend to cancer, both 26F, and the feeling is unparalleled, not just the initial sadness, but I feel like a part of my heart has been scraped out, and I know I will never get it back. Knowing that nobody genuinely gives a duck about you. Sure, some people like family may try to make it appear like they do, but in your heart, you know they don't. Jealousy. Not just in relationships, but in all aspects of life. It just gnaws away at you and puts you on edge and makes you feel inadequate and despicable. Remorse is stronger than gratitude. That's why when someone dies suddenly everybody becomes like their friend. This is so true for Sushant Singh Rajput, whose latest movie is highest rated on IMDb in the world. It was an average movie at best, but all those emotions for him poured on the reviews. Depression. Ignoring a gut feeling and ducking up because of it. Loneliness. Solitude is nice until you start thinking that your only option is to spend your day alone. Being cheated on by your significant other. That type of betrayal of trust hits really hard, especially if you had been together for a long time. Having to put on a brave face when you're under an immense amount of stress because you don't want to bring anyone down with your own issues, but will listen to them speak of this for hours. The feelings you get when you are ostracized to me are awful, especially if you were previously part of the group. It combines isolation, helplessness, confusion, and betrayal into one very sad experience. All your friends going out together without you. Seeing someone you care about slowly lose interest in you all while harmlessly just being yourself and trying to make sure they are happy and cared for. I think it's grief 100%. I know it seems like an obvious answer, but there are so many factors that go into it as well. I've had the watching someone you love die slowly from cancer and finding someone you love dead out of the blue, and it's two entirely different types of trauma that it doesn't even seem like the same emotion. That feeling that you've just been crushed emotionally and coming to terms with never seeing that person again. It's definitely something I'd never wish on anyone, and the worst thing about it is that everyone goes through it at some point. The worst part of grief for me was how lonely it was. People would give their condolences, but I felt no one really got what I was going through, or at least that's how it felt. People would come up to me and tell me their story, how they lost someone, but there were so many variables like how my dad died, how unfair it was, how young I am, etc. that it felt different somehow and isolating. Others tried to make it better or make myself feel better by saying they're in a better place or part of life's plan, etc. That only made things worse. I'm the youngest amongst my friends without a dad, so I can only take this experience and be there for others when they go through a similar thing. Still sucks for anyone to go through that. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.